If you think war today is all clean precision, guided missiles, and perfect intelligence feeds, you're not seeing the full picture. Imagine looking at a screen, launching rockets worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then losing the ability to even see your target halfway through the strike. That's exactly what Ukrainian operators faced during this mission, and yet the outcome wasn't failure. It was something far more devastating for the other side. By the end of this story, you'll understand why even a broken plan can change the entire shape of a front. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Why would Russia put such weight on an outdated giant from another country's arsenal, one with a price tag of $50 million per battery? And why did Ukraine see it as a prize target? The answer begins with a massive gun system that North Korea treated as something more than just another artillery piece. Known as the Koksan, it weighed close to 30 tons, and for decades it stood as Pyongyang's answer to the long-range firepower gap. Where most Soviet-era guns fired between 10 and 15 miles, the North Korean platform could reach nearly 25, hurling shells the size of oil drums. To North Korea, that extended range offered a simple but terrifying promise. A weapon sitting far enough back to be untouchable, yet still capable of covering entire cities with fire. The Soviet Union once admired its scale, and Iran even paid for the system during the brutal Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. That history explains why, despite the weapon's age, Russia turned to these same pieces decades later. A single gun crew with the right coordinates could flood defensive lines with sustained barrages of massive shells. For Russia, fighting a war of attrition against Ukraine, it seemed like a way to restore pressure by sheer volume after newer systems struggled to deliver the expected dominance. But everything that made the Koksan impressive in its era began to expose its fragility in the present day. At 30 tons, it was not a weapon that could be shifted quickly. It required time to set up, time to aim, and had no chance of firing and vanishing before counterstrikes closed in. In the 1980s, that didn't matter, because locating artillery usually relied on radar tracking or human scouts. Today, battlefield skies are thick with drones, and every clearing, every road, every track carved in the mud is visible to satellites. When a machine of that size tried to hide in the open, it was less a threat and more of a glowing marker waiting for someone to seize the opportunity. The image was striking. 3 of these guns positioned in a carefully cut clearing inside a forest, angled so that their firing arcs overlapped like the points of a triangle stretched across the tree line. Had they been left intact, any Ukrainian units moving in range would have faced relentless shelling. To air crews flying reconnaissance, the geometry looked like a trap designed to shred defensive formations. To Ukrainian planners, it was also the perfect configuration to destroy in one coordinated strike. Their calculation was simple: 3 precision rockets against 3 massive targets. The time budgeted was just 91 seconds, the span from launch to impact. Confidence was high because HIMARS systems had already shown they could hit command posts, bridges, and ammunition depots with pinpoint accuracy. The expectation was that this engagement would follow the same surgical pattern, but as soon as the first rockets were in the air, the battlefield changed shape. A wave of electronic interference cut through the video feed. Operators saw the screen freeze, the picture break into static, then vanish. Coordinates that were supposed to be updated in real time suddenly became unreliable. Were the guns still locked in place, or had crews begun moving? No one could be sure. The equation had collapsed. 3 $50 million artillery pieces had been built on the illusion of massive firepower, yet the reality was different. They were not undone by superior guns, but by the fact that they could not disappear. Their very size had turned them into prey for a military that thrived on instant detection and rapid strikes. Exactly how the plan unraveled from a 91-second precision kill to an 8-minute struggle reveals how fragile even the best plans can be when the digital layer of war starts to crack. How could a flawless strike plan collapse into uncertainty within seconds and still end up rewriting enemy strategy? The mission began with calm precision. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone circled above the tree line, its camera streaming live video into the command post. Every detail of the clearing showed clearly on the monitor. 3 enormous North Korean guns aligned like a triangle, pointed outward toward Ukrainian lines. Operators tracked them carefully, watching for even the smallest sign of movement. The HIMARS crews were ready, with the countdown set for the 91-second strike window. But the moment the rockets launched, that calm screen of data vanished into noise. A Russian jamming unit activated, cutting the signal. The live feed blinked once, then froze, then dissolved into static. In that instant, confidence in precision collapsed. The operators faced an impossible choice. They could fire blindly with the last coordinates they had, knowing those positions were already several seconds old. Or they could wait, risk holding fire, and give the heavy artillery crews enough time to pull the massive weapons out of the kill zone. Under pressure, hesitation could ruin everything. The order came. Fire, with what data remained. Seconds later, the first HIMARS rocket streaked down, slamming into the clearing and throwing shredded metal and dirt skyward. One of the guns lurched to the side, its barrel twisted and its support carriage burning. But it was not destroyed. The other 2 remained intact, and for a brief moment, they were still in fighting condition. On the ground, panic turned into urgency. A North Korean sergeant, serving alongside Russian crews, yelled for his men to disengage. Instead of defending the guns or preparing to keep firing, his focus shifted to survival. Crews scrambled over the 3 artillery pieces, cutting cables, throwing personal gear into trucks. The decision was clear. The weapons could be abandoned or replaced, but lives could not. Engines roared to life, and the surviving guns began to move, pulled slowly by tracked vehicles through breaks in the forest road. Back in the Ukrainian command center, frustration grew. Video feed was gone. Coordinates were unreliable. The strike seemed halfway done, but the most threatening weapons were rolling to safety. Then, a second specialist stepped forward. Barely in his 20s, working as a signals officer, he pulled open a secondary connection, one not meant for smooth, steady video, but capable of trickling fragments of imagery through the interference. What appeared were blotchy shapes, low-resolution thermal outlines struggling through the fog of jamming. But in those blurred smudges, one detail became visible. 2 bright signatures, not guns, not barrels, but the clear heat plumes from heavy engines moving slowly away from the blast site. That was enough. Coordinates were cross-checked against the backup data, firing solutions updated. 2 more HIMARS rockets screamed into the night sky. This time, the explosions ripped into moving targets. The first struck squarely near one of the withdrawing vehicles, igniting the fuel supply and detonating stored shells. Fire rolled across the tree line. The second hit came seconds later, catching the last gun as it turned down a forest track. The impact triggered a chain reaction. Shell casings cooking off one by one, a rolling series of blasts that tore the surrounding vehicles apart. Within moments, all 3 of the North Korean giants were nothing but burning wreckage. One strike did more than destroy 3 artillery pieces. It ended the illusion that massed firepower alone could dominate a battlefield shaped by satellites, drones, and precision rockets. The ripple traveled through command chains as units once confident in their range began to question if their positions were even survivable. If $450,000 in rockets can erase $50 million in weapons and silence nearly half an artillery sector, the lesson may not rest in technology alone. The 91-second plan exposed something deeper, that adaptability under pressure, even when plans break, can redraw entire fronts in ways firepower alone never achieves.